Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some breaking news for the UCLA fans coming late Saturday night as Eric Bieniemy announced to be the next offensive coordinator for this UCLA program heading into the 2024 season. And this one, I read the message boards, I read Twitter, a very polarizing hire for UCLA fans. And I think it's polarizing for a reason. There are a lot of things to be excited about Eric Bieniemy, but there are a lot of questions that you have about the hire as well. I want to get into the pros and the cons of Eric Bieniemy joining this UCLA staff. Really excited to get into it. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys, and it has been a special shout out to the UCLA fans. This has been a program that's been a blast to talk about since DeShaun Foster has taken over, breaking down the offensive coordinator candidates. The UCLA fans, you guys have shown a ton of love, a ton of support, a ton of feedback. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear how you guys are feeling about this one in the comment section. I get we're going to have a lot of different opinions. Would love to chop it up with you guys in the comment section. Probably in the next 2 days, we'll do a deep dive kind of film study on the Eric Bieniemy offense and what he's bringing to UCLA as well. But right now, let's get into just kind of some initial reactions, pros and cons. Let's start off with the pros, and I think the pros start with Eric Bieniemy is a guy that, going back 12 months ago, was one of the hottest names at the NFL level as being the next guy as a head coach. This was a guy that has a ton of respect as an offensive mind at the NFL level. A couple of things that I really like, and this is something that I often pay attention to, is where have these coaches worked with and who have they worked under? And Eric Bieniemy, you can have the debate of, how much responsibility did Eric Bieniemy have in terms of running that Kansas City Chiefs offense? At the very least, Eric Bieniemy has worked with Andy Reid for almost a decade, and I'd say Andy Reid is one of, if not the best offensive mind that we have in the sport of football, whether it's the NFL, whether it's the college level. And Eric Bieniemy, not only moving up the ranks through the Kansas City Chiefs, but more importantly, just being around Andy Reid, being in those meetings, you kind of trust that Eric Bieniemy has a phenomenal mind for an offense. And again, we'll get into what they want to do on offense kind of later in a deeper dive into Eric Bieniemy. But something that stands out is just he's worked with Andy Reid. He's well respected by Andy Reid, and that means a lot for me in terms of evaluating Eric Bieniemy as a football coach and offensive mind coming to the college level. Next thing I want to talk about is you're looking at a guy that has won 2 Super Bowls. And this is something that we talk about a lot. Offensive coordinators, not only do you have the offensive mind, but more importantly, can you get it done on the recruiting trail as well? A couple things that are playing into Eric Bieniemy's kind of toolkit there is, one, the California roots. That is something that when you have the conversation of how does UCLA get back to where they belong at the college football level, it starts with recruiting the state of California, which was just an epic failure for Chip Kelly during his tenure at UCLA. Eric Bieniemy, a guy that grew up in California, has strong ties to California, has been at UCLA. That means a lot in terms of the recruiting trail, the relationships you have with high school coaches, and even more importantly, this is a guy that's won 2 Super Bowl rings. And we talk about this a lot. Does that translate to the college football level? At the end of the day, yes, I understand NIL plays a massive role in the recruiting landscape. But at the end of the day, a lot of these kids coming out of high school, they want to go to the NFL. And if you have 2 Super Bowl rings on your fingers, that's going to carry a lot of weight in terms of high school kids trusting that you're going to develop them into NFL caliber players. Eric Bieniemy knows what it looks like. He knows what it takes to get to the next level. And I think that can be a massive asset on the recruiting trail for Eric Bieniemy. And the last thing was, he was at UCLA. He was at UCLA for a season where they went 10-2 in 2005. Did a phenomenal job there as well. With UCLA trying to get back to where it belongs, I think it's really helpful to have a guy that he knows what it's like. He knows what it looks like for UCLA to be a dominant team in college football. I think that plays a lot of weight too. So you have some pros and some reasons to be excited about. Again, if you were to rewind the clock 12 months from now or 12 months ago, and Eric Bieniemy was announced as the next offensive coordinator for UCLA, I think a lot of people would be jumping for joy. Now, obviously, it didn't work out with the Washington Commanders with a kind of lame duck head coach with not great quarterback play. I would just take it back 12 months ago. This was one of the most respected offensive minds in the sport of football, not college football, the sport of football. So there's a lot of reasons to be excited about Eric Bieniemy. Now, that is not me sitting up here and ignoring some question marks. A lot of the UCLA listeners who've been listening for the last couple of weeks know that my first choice was Brennan Marion, right? A guy that I have a ton of respect for at UNLV. There are some questions about Eric Bieniemy too, and the first one is, hasn't been at the college football level in almost a decade. And this is a sport that has significantly changed since Eric Bieniemy has been coaching at the college level. You have some question marks about Eric Bieniemy coming from the NFL ranks to the college ranks and having success as a coach. That is a very, very valid concern that I think a lot of fans have versus a guy like Brennan Marion, who's cut his teeth at the college level, who's done a phenomenal job designing offenses and recruiting at the college level. I think the biggest con with Eric Bieniemy is kind of just the question marks. This is a guy that there's some reasons to be really excited, but there are also a lot of question marks in terms of, hey, can you run your own offense at the college level? Are the schemes that you ran with Patrick Mahomes at Kansas City going to translate to UCLA? Because, again, it is easy to run an offense when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. That's a question. The other question, can Eric Bieniemy get it done on the recruiting trail? We don't really know. He hasn't been a recruiter in over a decade. So those are some question marks. I'm really excited to see how this pans out, I guess you'd say. There are reasons to be excited. There are reasons to be pessimistic or have questions as well. We'll do a deeper dive. I'm going to get some film in on the Washington Commanders in 2023 where he had full play calling duties. We'll talk about what Eric Bieniemy brings. I'll probably put that out in about 2 days once I get some film and get some notes in. Really excited to do our deep dive. Appreciate the UCLA fans, Rock Boys. Nothing I'd rather do on a Saturday night than talk UCLA, talk on the offensive coordinator hire. Appreciate you guys more than you know for all the support. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.